Hello, everybody. Noel the Red Devil here. We have another live stream for you guys. Andy Mitten has written an article about how long it's taken to do this takeover of Manchester United. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be looking at this article. I'm going to give you my opinion on the takeover and stuff because let's be honest, 7 months is too long to be waiting for the club to be sold. The club should have been sold in reality about 3 months ago. This should have been wrapped up within a 3-4 month period, but it's dragged on, and there's reasons for that. Now, I have linked Andy Mitten's Twitter account in the link description. I've also linked the article as well in the link description, just in case you want to check out the article for yourself. We got someone in the chat. We got Scottish Dove Wrestling Friends Wrestle with Pop Culture, who's a Celtic fan. Nice to see you in here. So let's get straight into this. And I've got this time I actually have the article ready to go. So we'll throw it up on screen there. So you should be seeing it any second now. StreamYard's a bit on the slow. There we go. So Andy Mitten has wrote this in the national news. Manchester United are club stuck in limbo as takeover saga drags on and on. The two potential buyers, staff and fans are being left frustrated by the bidding process overseen by the current owners, the Glazers. Now, it's always been rumored they've wanted 6 billion, right? And this is one of the reasons why it has dragged out, is because they want 6 billion. And both bids have not offered 6 billion. But let's get into it. So this is Andy Mitten. And he says, every day Manchester United's many followers wait for an update on the takeover situation at Old Trafford. And every day there are plenty. Many are inaccurate and poorly sourced, but fans still click to read, usually in the hope of several things, chiefly that the Glazer family, who took over the club in controversial, highly leveraged buyout in 2005, will no longer be in control. Then there's the smaller matter of what comes next at the club under new ownership, be it be from one of the two confirmed bidders, British chemical company Ineos, headed by Britain's richest man, Manchester-born Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or a bid led by Qatari banker Sheikh Jassim Hamad Al Thani. Now, let me just say something there before we go any further. Premier League clubs voted that no potential owner could buy a club using loans and stuff like that. Now, I think this has gone over a lot of media and Manchester United fans' heads, because that would mean that Sir Jim is actually ruled out by default, because he's using loans. He's not buying the club out straight out. He's using loans. So Sir Jim is not even in this race and never has been in this race as far as I'm concerned. This is my opinion on it. I think, when we all thought that Jim Ratcliffe was interested in Manchester United, do you remember he put out those comments about how the Glazer brothers were great people, and United fans were kind of like, what are you on? Well, I think he knew then they were going to sell Manchester United. I think what happened was they were hoping, the Glazers, to get more than 2 bids, right? They were hoping for a string of bids to come in, but they didn't, right? Sheikh Jassim came in, and Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But I don't think Sir Jim actually has the tools to take over Manchester United, because, as I said, the Premier League brought in those new rules. So I honestly think that there's been something going on between the Glazers and Sir Jim, and the Glazers are kind of using Sir Jim to squeeze the $6 billion out of Sheikh Jassim. Who fans want depends on who you ask and where you ask it. On Twitter social media platform, support overwhelmingly favours the Qatari bid. On polls carried out behind paywalls for the Athletic, the United We Stand, Vanzine, 71.94%. Last poll on Friday, or the club's vast Scandinavian supporters club, the support is strongly in favour of Ineos bid. Fans don't know the details of what either bidder plans beyond an eye-catching one-paragraph statement. Now, I will add on to that as well, that I'm one of those fans that doesn't want either of these bids. I was hoping, like the Glazers, that we'd get other bids coming in. Now, don't want Sir Jim, and I don't want the Qataris, but we need to get the Glazers out. And there's only two bids on the table. I think the Sir Jim bid, I keep bringing it up, but I don't think it's really a bid in my opinion. He can't buy the club. It's as simple as that. There's even rumours that he was thinking of selling Nice. Isn't that the club that he owns? He doesn't have the money. So it's going to be Sheikh Jassim, whatever anybody out there says. It's Sheikh Jassim. He's going to own Manchester United. Now, I'm not in favour of that deal, but anything to get the Glazers out. And, we could talk about the moral implications of the Glazers taking over at a later time. But right now, Man United fans want the Glazers out. But it is actually very interesting that if you go on Twitter, the support is for the Qatari bid. But I've also noticed that a lot of accounts have popped up all of a sudden and that are driving this with the fans on Twitter. Now, as they said, they're behind the paywalls, and that basically is you have to pay to read the Athletic, and they're paid subscriptions. They've done polls, and on those polls, the fans there are in favour of Ineos and Sir Jim taking over. So it is actually a divided fan base on it. United fans have become even more divided. In 2005, a few thousand fans set up a breakaway club, FC United of Manchester, and entrenched on their position. The online mood is toxic and intolerant. Protagonists and are abused. Falsehoods peddled, and this is what's happened. I've noticed that it doesn't matter what side of the argument on. If you're a Sir Jim fan, you're going to be attacked because you're a Sir Jim fan of the Qatari law, and then of course the Sir Jim people are saying the same. Well, how can you go with the Qatari bid? And they will give their reasons, which I think are very valid reasons. To be quite honest with you, I don't think either bid is right for Manchester United, but that's what we have in front of us. So both bidding parties had signed a non-disclosure agreements, and that's for the Glazers to basically protect themselves, because if there is bull crap going on behind the scenes, they know that none of the other two parties are going to open their mouth because they have signed that disclosure. Allowing even more room in the vacuum of idle talk, both have employed London PR agencies to do their bidding and briefing, but even they can say nothing on the record, allowing for more misinformation. Both sides have become frustrated with the bidding process, which started after the November announcement that the Glazers were considering selling the club and sought to explore strategic alternatives, I should say. And both will agree that the process is deeply frustrating and should never have taken so long. And that is the gist of it. Not the gist of the article, but that is the gist of it. It should never have taken this long. This is the Glazers basically trying to squeeze every single penny they can out of Sheikh Jassim, I should say. and get that 6 billion. The Glazers have not sold the club now. Manchester United takeover gone on too long. We're talking about the Andy Mitten article that he's just dropped in the last hour. And we're discussing it, and I'm giving my opinion on it. But welcome. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I really do appreciate the support. I do, obviously, some people do know me on YouTube because I run a pop culture channel, but I am a huge Manchester United fan, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I think this is the season now to start up Ten Hag's second season. To start now and looking forward. So we'll be doing match reactions. We'll be doing, pre-season. I've got shorts up as well if you want to look at some of the transfer rumors, because I did one stream on the transfer rumors tonight, but I'm not going to be one of those channels that comes on every night to talk about transfer rumors. What I'll do is I'll come on when I have concrete stuff. So if you want to hear all the rumors, they'll be all on little shorts, which you'll see that's up on the channel right now. But let's get back into this article. And again, nice to see people in the chat so I can interact with you as well. If you've got any questions, let me know and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Both two have expected to hear news on their bids at various stages, only for nothing to happen. Last week was supposed to be significant, yet Ratcliffe clearly thought otherwise and took a trekking holiday. Next week never comes. The Glazers can afford to take as long as there are still people who will pay billions for their shares, but it's not infinite. United shouldn't do, but now need capital. And that's the point. The Glazers can hold out. And the rumor is that they're going to be in charge at the start of the season. Okay? And this is another thing that I want to, you hear a lot of fan channels out there. And this is what I'm going to try and do. There's a few fan channels that I support that are the same as me. Straight talkers, straight shooters. We don't like to bull crap around. But here's the deal. The Glazers could be here at the start of the season. And remember, until that takeover happens, United have the budget that they have, which is rumoured to be between 120 to 150 million. And then people are talking about go out and get Osimhen and all of these players. Harry Kane, go and get Harry Kane's 100 million. Go and get Declan Rice's 100 million. So you want to blow the budget on one player. Remember, for United to get more capital in, they have to sell some players. The problem that United have is that most of these players are on really, 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 really big wages. So the irony is that United are the one club that shouldn't need a deep pocket owner. The business supports the club. That's what made it so attractive to the Glazers. And the cost of investment in the stadium could be spread over multiple years and does meet financial fair play rules. United need a new stadium or redevelopment of Old Trafford. I'm in favour of a redevelopment of Old Trafford. See, a lot of the younger fans will be okay with them tearing down Old Trafford and building a new Old Trafford. For fans like me, that's not even. We don't even comprehend that. You redevelop Old Trafford. That's sacred grass. You don't tear down Old Trafford. You redevelop it. It's as simple as that. Plus the training ground, which we all agree. Both excellent facilities. They're just not the best anymore. And Old Trafford especially has not been developed as it should have been since the Glazers took over. United, so long England's biggest club, need investment to remain so. And that's the point. He's saying it. The stadium doesn't need to be torn down. The facilities are still decent in the club. They just need to be updated, to become that number one club again, like we always were at one stage. Let's see if there's anybody else in the chat. There's not at the moment. So let's read on. False news flourishes when there is no news. Adding the end of the football season when there's nothing happening on the pitch, or the club being able to confirm or deny stories as usual, and tweaks to social media algorithms that amplify the most engaged posts, whether true or not. Anonymous aggressor accounts fan the flames and do so again with various updates and discounted as untrue. It's all about engagement above our bliss. And if they're wrong, well, nobody was taking them seriously anyway. They just wanted to. And that's the problem. There is a lot of fan channels out there. And I said it at the start of the stream. You have a lot of these accounts that have just turned up out of the blue. A lot of these accounts with Qatari flags in their bios and, you know, them saying that the deal is done. You had that account apparently in Wales that was saying that the deal was done and all that, and it turned out to be a hoax. And this is the problem. There's too much misinformation out there. Fans get angry and upset, you know, when something doesn't happen. And it's the same with transfers. I've seen all of this stuff on Kim Min Jae, right? And people saying, "Oh, United have lost out." United haven't lost out on Arton. His release clause doesn't enact until July. Yes, he's talking to Bayern Munich, but that means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. If United enact that release clause, right, and Bayern Munich do the same, the player will then have a choice, okay? And then it's up to United to see if they can negotiate with him. Yeah, it doesn't matter who's negotiating with who. Money talks at the end of the day. They could say to him, "What's Bayern Munich offering you?" Right? They say, "Okay, well, we will offer you this if you come to Manchester United." So, don't, a lot of these fan accounts out there, they do a lot of this stuff for the clicks and stuff like that. And this is what I'm not going to try do on this channel. And as I said, there's a few channels that I do follow that don't do this either. They're not into all of that. We're just straight talkers, straight shooters, give you news when we can. And none of this clickbait stuff. Anyway, let's continue. Journalists are rubbish if they bring news that different groups of fans don't want to hear and are accused of being part of the rival bidding. But it's not only United fans who want clarity. United's 1,000 full-time staff do. Imagine deadlines come and go. Fans who otherwise obsess over possible player transfers now try to decipher financial information from the New York Stock Exchange, where United shares are publicly listed. And that's the thing as well. There is a staff behind Old Trafford. There is a staff, that's connected to the first team, to the youth team. None of them have clarity right now. None of them. I mean, I don't know if anybody's interested in the Manchester United women's team. I certainly am. I mean, they're losing players now to Arsenal and stuff because, we just didn't give them a new contract. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're trying to save money anywhere we can, I think, for the main team. And the women's team is, in my opinion, is probably suffering from it. Actual deadlines for bids matter little beyond ushering in new rounds of bids. This is an auction. The Glazers wanted to maximise their sale price, and that's the bottom line, folks. They wanted that $6 billion, and the club is not worth $6 billion. And for people out there that say, Sheikh Jassim should have just paid the $6 billion, it's all easy for you to say because it's not your money, right? The club is worth between $4.5 billion, maybe $3.5 billion, right? He's already paying over the odds, but the Glazers want $6 billion because they're greedy. They're ponderous decision makers at the best of times. There are decisions relating to middle-ranking members of staff that have been approved by the Glazers. These processes have deeply frustrated previous United managers. It is not a dynamic, front-footed business. And he carries on to say, witness how long United took to establish a women's team, to properly fund the youth system, to do even some piecemeal improvements to Old Trafford, and the Glazers have no need to rush since the price being the price being bid keeps going up. It makes Man United more attractive that Eric Ten Hag's side will play Champions League football next season. Yet the Dutch coach needs to plan for next season. United insist it's business as usual in their recruitment of players in the summer transfer window. Yeah, how can it be usual with the huge elephant of the future of the club in the room? And that's the point. And this is why, I've been trying to get this message across. Anyway, as well, we were told very early on that irrespective of who the owner was, or the owners were Manchester United, that we'd have to abide by the fair play rules, the financial fair play rules. So the budget wouldn't have been any different, to be quite honest. We still need to sell players to be able to bring in players with the budget that the Glazers have given our manager, right? But it isn't the best way to be doing business when the ownership is up in the air. This should have been sorted before the English transfer window. I thought this should have been actually sorted 3 months ago. 3 or 4 months ago. 7 months to get a takeover done is pure greed from the Glazers. The Glazers would like more bidders, but two genuine ones are enough to play off against one another. The gatekeepers to the bidding are the Rain Group. One person familiar with the bidding process described it as tacky and grubby. There are six. Hold on. Here it is. There are six Glazier siblings who are entitled to what would have been a vast profit from the sale of the club, which cost 750 million, and now attracting bids of around 5 billion 18 years later. The Ineos position has not changed for months. They are quietly confident. The Qatari position is similar. One group is going to be left disappointed, but not as disappointed and as frustrated as the Man United fans, who deserve much better, are right now because after the Glazers, United need an owner who is buying the club for the right reasons and who understands and respects the fan culture and the history. And that article was from Andy Mitten there. And again, that's the thing. They dragged this out because they want the 6 billion, and they were never going to sell this club unless they get the 6 billion. So they've squeezed this. Some people will blame Sheikh Jassim for not just paying the 6 billion straight out. As I said, just because he's a rich man, if a club is worth between say 3.5 to 4.5 billion, right? And you've come in with a bid of 5.5 billion, right? So basically, they're squabbling over 500 million. That's how greedy they are, right? And this is why the Glazers went to the PSG owner and basically said, "Well, he's your mate, isn't he? Have a word with him for us, will you? Tell him that if he gives us the 6 billion, he can have Manchester United." And now all of a sudden they're gone into exclusivity with Sheikh Jassim. But I think there's more to that. I think Sir Jim was ruled out anyway with these new Premier League rules that said clubs couldn't buy, new potential owners couldn't be using loans and leverage to buy clubs. They had to buy them straight out, and show where the cash was coming from. So Sheikh Jassim is going to be owner of Manchester United, right? It's just a matter of time. But I suspect the Glazers are going to drag this out as long as they can. And look, this is the thing about it as well. I said this very early on. I wouldn't be surprised if they hang on until the end of the transfer window and then announce that they're leaving. This is a deliberate ploy by them. One last FU to us because we basically forced them out of the club and they knew that their time was up. And I reckon they will, I'm telling you, man, they'll wait until this transfer window is closed and Ten Hag will be left high and dry for his second season. And that's how much they care about Manchester United. I should say that's how little they care of Manchester United, right? So, hopefully we wake up tomorrow. We keep saying as Man United fans, maybe tomorrow is the day. But I doubt it. But there you go. What can you do? You just have to hope that they get it done quick. Because I don't like the players that we're linked to. And I don't, it's going to be another tough season. Because the other squads around us will improve, And then we're looking at players like Mason Mount and Jordan Pickford and Ollie Watkins, right? Those players are not going to win you the Premier League, right? I'm sick of this whole attitude as well. Oh, they're better than what we have. We need better than what we have. We're Manchester United, right? I know most new our fans, I suppose for you it's sad because all you have ever known is really failure, mostly failure under the Glazers. But I grew up of a time where Manchester United were dominating, and the fact that I see Manchester United fans lowering their standards and saying, I'll be okay if the manager brings him in. He's not good enough. Mason Mount is not good enough to be at Manchester United. Jordan Pickford is not good enough to be at Manchester United. Ollie Watkins is not good enough to be at Manchester United. The guy from Atalanta, yeah, he's a decent striker, right? But he's a backup striker, but they're looking for about 100 million for him, right? But we need a world-class striker. Manchester United want to win the league again. We just watched Manchester City win a treble, right? Do you think we're going to win a treble you think we're going to win a Premier League with Jordan Pickford, Mason Mount, and any other those little has-beens that we're connected to? Not a chance. Not a hope in hell, right? And this is why this ownership should have been dealt with months ago, right? Because we'd be sitting here and we wouldn't be talking about Mason Mount, Jordan Pickford, and Ollie Watkins. We'd probably be talking about Mbappe, Frankie de Jong. I know Bellingham has gone to Real Madrid, but we could have probably tried to hijack that if we had new owners in place that had deep pockets. Right? Obviously, we'd still have to sell players and try keep within the financial fair play rules, right? But none of these players are good enough to win Manchester United a title. In fairness, if we bring in Pickford, right? I'm sorry, right? Okay, he's better with the ball at his feet, right? That's fine. He's not a better shot stopper than David De Gea. Actually, he's not a better goalkeeper than David De Gea. So that's a downgrade. We bring in Mason Mount. Okay. Decent player, right? But is he going to win you the Premier League? No. No. Even with Bruno, Casemiro, or whatever you put in that midfield, it's not good. It's not good enough. Right? Then you're looking at Ollie Watkins. Right? 16 goals he got last season or something. Right? Ollie Watkins is a backup striker. He's not a main striker. You don't be bringing in Ollie Watkins as your main striker. 16 goals. Watkins, Mount, Pickford, all not good enough for a team that's looking to challenge for the league, but all help the English quota rubbish that we have to meet. That's what it's all about. That's fair enough, okay? And I do get that there has to be a certain English quota in every Premier League team. That's fine. But there are better English players than Mason Mount. There are better. Is there better an English goalkeeper? Maybe not. Maybe not. I'd probably keep Dean Henderson if that was the case. You know what I mean? Is Pickford better than Dean Henderson? I would argue Dean Henderson is the better keeper. So I mean, fair enough. Declan Rice, overrated. I wouldn't even. Arsenal are going to go in for him. Fair play to them. I wouldn't pay 120 million for him, to be quite honest. I think he's a fraud. But there you go. That's just my opinion on Declan Rice. But he's not going. He's not going to do anything for Arsenal either. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But we're in serious trouble. Look, I mean, you've got Leicester that got relegated. There was a few players from Leicester that we could have took. We're not even looking. Like, I'd bring in James Maddison. We've been talking about Maddison for years as United fans. I'd bring in James Maddison. I would have brought in Tielemans as well, just as a backup. But I'd still go for that marquee signing. I still think for me, we need to be going for best in class. And we're not. And I just feel this manager is going to be let down. Just like every other manager has been. Whether you like that manager or not, Jose Mourinho was let down. Van Gaal was let down. David Moyes was let down. Right? Ollie was let down. Right? They were all let down. You need to go in for Gavi. You see, Gavi, I don't think is going to leave Barcelona. But as you know, I always buy him on FIFA. I think he's a great little player. But I'd rather Pedri, to be quite honest with you. See, they're the type of players we should be going for. But if we were Manchester United, we had deep pockets. It doesn't matter whether it's Barcelona or Real Madrid. Money talks, man. Here, we want Gavi. We want Pedri. We want Valverde. You know, we want Camavinga, right? We want Vinicius Jr. We want Mbappe. You know? And if Mbappe is free next season, right? He's going to go this season if someone is brave and bold enough to do that deal, right? So if the Glazers were already fucking gone, right? Maybe Sheikh Jassim would say to Eric Ten Hag, look, Mbappe is available. Do you want him? I'll go and get him for you. Do you think Ten Hag is going to turn down Kylian Mbappe? Sure, he'll turn Kylian Mbappe into a world-class player. Right now, Mbappe is still very raw. He's a very talented player. But if he was to come in under Ten Hag, he'd be world-class. A front three of Mbappe, Rashford, and maybe Garnacho or Pellistri, or whoever you want to put there, Anthony, you know. And then you get a decent midfield behind that. We've already got decent centre-backs yet. We need another centre-back to come in, of course. But we've got Varane, we've got Martinez. We keep Lindelof, we get rid of the others, and we bring in another bloody defender. We'll be okay. But we can't do any of this business because the Glazers are still around. They're going to screw us over, man. Mbappe is going to end up going to Real Madrid. And this is the thing. This, for me, would have been the best chance to get him. Right? Because he says that, you know, he's saying that he's staying at PSG. Right? Because he has no other option. Right? But that's him basically forcing PSG's hand. So they'll be on the phone ringing around clubs panicking. Here, just want to buy, because they know they're going to lose him for free. So they'd rather try get the cash for him now. You'd get Mbappe cheaper now, right, than you'd ever get him. Because trust me, PSG are not going to let him go on the free. He is going to be sold. And you're going to get him at a very, very cheap price. Cheaper than, look, paying 100 million for fucking Harry Kane. How much do you think it's going to cost with the lad? He's 1 year left on his contract. He leaves in the summer. Right? I do want to get Mbappe into the club. Kylian will leave on a free. You need to pick him up. That's what I mean. I mean, we could take the risk and wait and hope that nobody comes in for him and he does stay and then leaves in the summer. But then PSG then will probably use that time and opportunity to throw a bags full of money at him, and he'd probably end up staying. So while there's that uncertainty, I'd go in for him, man. What's the budget? 150 fucking million we have? Just give it all for him, right? Just bring in Kylian Mbappe, and then we can figure out the rest later on. I'm only joking, of course, but that'd be a dream scenario. The problem we've got now is that the Glazers won't want to spend over 100 million just before they sell, but they are that incapable of doing anything quickly that they are likely won't sell until 2024. Ah, no, they definitely go. They've entered into exclusivity, and while that isn't, bang on certain that Sheikh Jassim gets it, I think they've gotten to the point themselves as well that they have to sell. Look, they were expecting other bidders to come in. Other bidders didn't come in. And I don't see that changing anytime soon just because we're in the Champions League, right? If the Champions League was going to make a difference, we would have got more bidders coming in. No other bidders have come in. And I think it's multiple factors. We recently got over a pandemic and all of that. Some businesses have been shot over the last couple of years financially and stuff. There are only a certain amount of people that can buy Manchester United. And only one of them came forward. Because I don't take the Sir Jim deal serious because he's using Ineos and as I said, the Premier League brought in these new rules, so I don't even know how he's able to buy the club. He just doesn't have the funds, right? So Sheikh Jassim is always going to be owner. I think the Glazers have dragged this out because they want the 6 billion, and Sheikh Jassim has been reluctant to give the 6 billion because he knows Manchester United's not worth 6 billion. They're worth between 3.5, 4.5 billion, and he already offered over the value of Manchester United. But the Glazers, as I said, the siblings, they're all a bunch of greedy pigs, and they want $1 billion each for themselves, right? That's the bottom line, right? And look, you are right, though. There is a possibility, Henry, that they could stay. You're right. There is always that possibility, but I doubt it. I don't think they're going to get any more bids coming in. So it's now or never. And, they just look. I'm going to say what every Manchester United fan wants to say to them. They just need to fuck off, right? You just need to get out of their club and go, right? You took 2 billion out of the club already. We're getting over 5 billion, right? That's 7 billion altogether. Just take it, leave it, and get out of here. We're done. We want their club back, right? I've sat here the last couple of seasons, been an emotional roller coaster supporting this team. I broke down when we got hammered, but 7-0, man. We've had some shocking results. We need our club back, and they need to go. I see us having a summer of Mason Mount, maybe a lone keeper, and all has been striker and a free. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I see us doing a lot of loan deals, But the other problem that we have as well, Henry, is the fact that, okay, we want to try sell Harry Maguire, right? Now, we're going to sell him at a loss anyway, but it's so bad that the club is even thinking of paying him off to get rid of him. Who's going to actually come in for Harry Maguire with the wages that he's on? Anthony Martial, right? We sent him on loan to Sevilla, do you remember? But nobody else came in for him, right? How are we going to... We're not going to be able to get rid of Anthony Martial either. Jadon Sancho, apparently the club are looking for 60 million if anybody does want to buy him. We don't know if that's concrete. Do you sell Jadon Sancho after 2 seasons? I'm one of those fans that, well, he got 2 seasons and the manager also gave him a break because his mental health or whatever it was. There was just something wrong with Jadon Sancho, and I think the manager has been patient. I think Manchester United fans have been very patient with Jadon Sancho. I don't know. See, this is one of these. This is one of these decisions you do or you don't. You know, because it could go either way. We sell him, and then he ends up being brilliant, right? We keep him, and then there's a possibility he turns it around. But then, how long do we keep him? We always kept saying that about Anthony Martial and other players like that, and this is why we ended up stuck with them. So I don't know. I know that there are fans out there that want them gone, and I do know that there are some fans that like to give them another chance. But I'm kind of torn. At one hand, you know, if we were offered money for him, I'd take it for the simple fact is we needed to strengthen their midfield. We needed to we needed to strengthen our defence and our forward line. And to be quite honest with you, Palestri is coming through. I think Garnacho will do well as well, you know. And then you've got Rashford as well. You can have both of those players, Garnacho and Palestri, rotate. You could keep Ahmad. You know, there is rumours that you could go to Atalanta to help with this Ramos Hoyland deal, but you could keep Ahmad, you know, give him a chance to run out in the team and see how he does. And then we could get rid of Jadon Sancho, get 60 million for him, and then that helps fund bring in, say, a centre back, right? And then you still have the 150 million that we have to get other players in. United have to be smart doing business. Listen, if I was running the club, this is how I would do it. I'd be smart about it, you know, but we don't have smart people running the club or doing business for the club. Sancho is all far to no crap. He's overhyped. I thought, see, that's where I disagree with you. Because I watched the, see, I'm not one of these fans that you know, I don't just watch the Premier League, right? I watch a bit of Scottish football. I watch a bit of Italian football, but I watch a lot of Bundesliga. And I watched Jadon Sancho when he's in the Bundesliga. Now I know people say the Bundesliga is easier, but the things that he was doing at Borussia Dortmund, he's not even doing at United. That's the problem I have. We don't know how good he actually is because he hasn't done it at United. What I've noticed with our wingers, right, as a Man United fan, this is what I've noticed. Right back in the day, we had Ryan Giggs, right, bombing down the wings, right. But what was Ryan Giggs doing when he was bombing down the wings? And Ronaldo when he was bombing down the wings? What were they doing? They were taking on players, right? Anthony does it, right? Sancho does it. They will receive the ball, they'll run up a little bit, right? But as soon as they come anywhere near the wing back, they will stop the ball, they will pass the ball backwards, right? And they'll just stand there, right? Instead of making the run, right? Now, if they don't make the run, Wan-Bissaka will make a run or Luke Shaw will make a run, something like that. But they're wingers. We brought them in to take on players, to cause problems and to get the ball in the box. Our wingers don't even cross the ball into the box. And I've noticed that about a lot of the players, actually. Even with free kicks, when we have an opportunity to kick the ball into the box, we will hit a short one. Corners, we never seem to get past the first defender in corners either. And then when it does go into the box, it's never anywhere near where our players are. So that's another thing. Set pieces we have to work on. Our wingers need to be taking on players a lot more. That's why we bought them. Right now, Anthony start doing it. We saw little glimpses of Anthony doing it, but Anthony doesn't have the pace. But I'm not looking. People have wrote Anthony off, right? I'm not. Anthony is, look, the reason why Ten Hag brought him in, right? Ten Hag didn't bring Anthony in because he was a flair player. He brought Anthony in because Anthony does all the dirty work. When Anthony got took off a couple of games during the season, we seen how defensively bad we got. He does that dirty work tracking back. That's what he's good for. That's why Ten Hag has him in the team. But Jadon Sancho is supposed to be the one that's the flair. If you've seen him in the Bundesliga, he's the one that takes the ball around players. He's the one that nutmegs players and does all the fancy skills and stuff. And we've seen glimpses of it from Sancho, but we haven't seen enough of it. Bundesliga has promising young talent. Exactly. Bellingham played for Borussia Dortmund. He's gone to Real Madrid now. People knock the Bundesliga, right? I wouldn't knock the Bundesliga that quickly, to be quite honest with you. A lot of the young German players and all that were up and coming, became stars, came from the Bundesliga as well. And they have had some duds. I'm not going to lie. The Bundesliga, it's not the Premier League. Look, no league out there is the Premier League, right? But the Bundesliga is a good league. I like it. It's good football. United over the last 10 years are notoriously bad at selling players. Clubs know that our players are on ridiculous wages and the players won't want to move and take a pay cut. It's a total mess. And I said this on a live stream I think it was today, or it was maybe, when did I do the last? I think it was the day before, where I said this is the legacy of the Ed Woodward era. He's the one that were giving all of these players ridiculous wages, right? The sooner the Premier League brings in this player cap, wages cap, not stuff that they're thinking of bringing in, the better, in my opinion. But they should. But I also think it should be brought into every league, world football, and there's a player, because wages are getting too expensive now. Even the price of average players. Someone mentioned that, I don't know who it was some journalist mentioned that even average players now will be going for 80, 90 million and stuff like that in a couple of years' time, because that's how it's going. It's ridiculous. And then these players will want huge wages. You're 100% right on us being awful at corners and set pieces. We are one of the worst in the league for them. I know, I just don't understand it though, man. I mean, Bruno is great at putting the ball in, but anytime he takes a free kick for United or a corner, he's awful, right? Same with Rashford. I love Rashford, but Rashford, you're not Ronaldo, man. You've got to come up with your own style for free kicks. But again, when he takes a free kick, it balloons all over the place, right? And this other thing that I hate as well, we'll take a corner, a United player will run up to the fella that's taking the corner, will take the ball, right? But instead of the player making a dart for the opposition box, he'll run backwards and then he'll give him back the ball, and then we've lost the fucking advantage of the whole point of getting the ball into the box. We're just so slow at getting the ball into the box. And I mean, people give Weghorst a lot of stick, right? Yeah, he wasn't the striker that we should have brought in. But I guarantee you, man, if the United players and the wingers and the wing backs had actually got more crosses into the box, and Weghorst was in that box, he would have got a lot more goals for us. Right? It's just we're awful. We're just awful at getting the ball into the box. Under Ollie, we were actually a little bit better at getting the ball into the box because we played counter-attacking football. But Ten Hag wants to play possession-based, and I get that. But when you have an opportunity to get the ball into the box, just get it bloody into the box, man. Cause chaos. Yeah, but let me see who that player is you've brought up. So, Ola, what's his name? There he is. He's a Norwegian player. He's 24 years of age, and he's a forward. Right now, but you see, how many goals has he got? So he has no goals in the Euro League qualifiers. He has no goals in the World Cup qualifiers. Here we go now. He has Hold on, we'll put this up on screen. So this is the player that you're talking about. Let's see. I'll be fair here, right? So we'll just share screen there. And he's a winger. See, but we don't need any more wingers. We've got plenty of wingers. We need a goal scorer. We don't need wingers. We got too many fucking wingers. That's the problem. We've got Anthony. I'm happy with Anthony. I'm not moaning at Anthony. I just wish he'd take on his player a little bit more. I know why Ten Hag brought him in, because he does a lot of that defensive work, and I'll never look. At the end of the day, we had players like Anthony at United before. I mean, the scrappy players like Park Ji-sung and players like that, right? We've had those gritty players before. I have no problem with those players, right? It's just, United's inability to just get the ball into the box is beyond me at this stage, man. It's been going on a few seasons, though, even before Ten Hag came along. Under Ranić, it was even worse. Right, so many goals as he's got. So he's got... no, Daniel, sure, he's only got one goal in Serie A, man. In 504 minutes. I'm sorry, I mean, that's not Manchester United level. That's really not Manchester United level. I'm sorry, but no. And he's 24 as well. I mean, Anthony is 22. Palestri is what? 19, 20. We don't need another winger. We've got too many wingers. What United need right now is a couple of strikers. We need a main striker, and then we need to bring in a striker when our main striker is either injured or he needs a rest, right? That's what we need. I'm sick of bleeding wingers, man. We got too many of them. So we got rid of Daniel James too early, in my opinion. He could have really developed under Ten Hag. Those early goals he scored for us when he joined was unbelievable. But no, one goal, I don't know about that one. He'd probably be good for your team, Birmingham City, Daniel, that you play on your Pro Evo. I'd love us to sign Nottingham. Yeah, I mean, all of those players that you've mentioned there, right, I'd take every single one of them. Caicedo, Onana. Onana is a bit rash, though. But if you were bringing in Onana, I'd take him. Dumfries, yeah, I'd take him as well. And Caicedo off Brighton, I mean, it's a deal we should be... Look, see all of those names you mentioned, Henry? If we were under David Gill and Sir Alex Ferguson, and those players were around at the time, right, and they were the players that Alex Ferguson wanted, we would get every single one of them. And that's the difference with us now, right? Fans can even suggest better players nowadays. But come here, you got to look at something as well. Remember, Manchester United put out a lot of stuff as well to throw journalists off. All of these links to Jordan Pickford and Mason Mount and all. Yeah, they could be talking to them. But remember, this could be all a smokescreen. They could be talking to other people as well. Do you know what I mean? And just keeping the scent. United used to do things like that. Keep the scent off one player, a player that they really wanted, and then just pretend that they're talking to another one. So the media would concentrate on that, not concentrate on deals that they were doing behind the scenes. You know what I mean? I wish that was the case, but the Glazers are in charge, so who am I kidding? But this is the problem. Look, the ownership is the biggest problem and the issue that we have right now. And this is what's going to script. Look, I just hope, because this is the fear that I have, right? There's a fear that I have, and this is the fear. If the Glazers don't sell now and they decide to stay on, and then Eric Ten Hag then has to do bargain buys in the transfer window, right? Then we're going to be if results start going bad, he's the one that's going to pay the ultimate price. Now, I was originally a Pochettino in, right? I've openly admitted it. I was wrong, right? Eric Ten Hag won me over pre-season anyway. His style of football, and that was the thing, his style of football during pre-season was actually completely different to when we actually played the main season, and it was just like the first two games, like the players just froze or something, right? Because Sancho and all was banging in the goals, and I thought, oh my God, Sancho, Martial even got a goal. Rashford was banging in the goals. We actually did well pre-season. And I thought, all right, good pre-season. Now let's kick on. Started the season. We lost our first two games. Ramos, yeah. I mean, that's who I want us to get. I've ever since we were linked to him, I think it was 2 years ago, and even last year. I wanted him or Sesko. But I would love Ramos at United. Ganalo Ramos? I would love him at Manchester United. He's Portuguese as well, as you said. Bruno's captain. Bringing another Portuguese player into Manchester United as well. Again, you need that dynamic as well, because players can get rather lonely and stuff like that. They do have their cliques, they do have their friendships, and bringing in another Portuguese player would be great. I would love Ramos, honestly. And apparently Benfica are looking to sell this time. But again, we could be priced out, because apparently they're looking between, they say we could probably get him for about 75, but because it's Manchester United, it'd be near enough 100 million. And that'd be our budget gone on one player. And we're not going to do that. So I'm with Henry. We're going to be, unless by some miracle it's announced tomorrow that the Glazers have sold to Sheikh Jazim, and then he automatically then authorizes this cash to Ten Hag. None of these dreams that United have of any, and it doesn't matter what. Look, if fans always have a player that they'd like to come to United, right? And it is a pipe dream for a lot of fans, but sometimes those pipe dreams come true, and it's the best feeling as a fan. But I just fear we're going to be let down again. The manager is going to be let down again. And to be quite honest, those lads did give everything this season, the season that's gone. This is why they ran out of steam near the end. They did. They gave it all. Nobody can question the players this season. They did give it all. They just came up short in the FA Cup and came up short in the Europa League, because if we had had a deeper squad, we would have been able to handle it a little bit better. And we probably, I'm not saying we would have won the FA Cup, but I'd say we'd be sitting happy with the League Cup and the Europa League, because I do believe we had to beat Sevilla, we would have won that Europa League, right? But Ten Hag just didn't have, in the end, he just didn't have the squad depth, and that's what's going to get us next season again as well, is that squad depth, and I fear he's going to be let down, and he might also decide himself he's had enough of this. Remember, right? Ten Hag is similar to Ferguson in he wants to win all the time. He wants to win trophies, right? He has that mentality. If he thinks he's not going to get to do that at United, just like some players do when they sign and then they say, oh, this is not working out, he could walk away, right? And then go to bloody worst case scenario, after Pep goes, he goes to Bleeding City, which I doubt he'd do that, right? But he could go to Madrid, he could go to Barcelona, he could go to Bayern Munich. Ten Hag would walk into another top club right now with what he's done with United. And I know some fans out there still question, some of the decisions he's made. I did as well. He made some mistakes last season, no doubt about it. But the thing I liked is when he did make the mistake, he learned from it. And he's learning all the time. There were things that he might have been able to get away with at Ajax that he knows now that he can't get away with here. But you've got to give him the tools, for God's sake. Henry says, I really do believe the Glazers won't sell till at least next summer. And even then, I could see them clinging on for longer. They are leeches that just won't let go of this club. Well, I hope you're wrong on that one for all our sakes, Henry. Because if you're not, because if you are right, next season is going to be even more toxic. I mean, in the fan base, there'll be riots, man. They have to go. They have to go, because if they don't, there will be riots. Trust me. I just don't see that, man. They have to go now. The momentum is there. The fans want them go. Of course, they don't really care what the fans think. We've been told that from day one. They don't really care. We were looking at him, Mohamed Kudus. I actually have him on one of my teams on FIFA. Now he's on FIFA, so obviously you can't judge, but he's a nice little player on FIFA. I don't watch much of Ajax, got to be honest, except when they were in the Champions League and all that stuff. So don't know too much, but I do know that he's unsettled. But again, our priorities right now are centre back. We need a midfielder, central midfielder, and a deep line midfielder as well. We actually need two midfielders. Actually, we need more than two midfielders, but for now, we need two midfielders. And then we need two strikers on a budget of 150 million. And on top of that, then if we manage to sell some players, we can use the budget, the sale money that we get for them, to reinvest into the squad. But the problem is, how are you going to shift Harry Maguire? How are you going to shift Anthony Martial? How are you going to shift Brandon Williams? Might go. You never know. We could get rid of Brandon Williams. McTominay is on huge wages as well, but Newcastle might be interested in him apparently. But we have to see. They're all if, buts, and maybes. But I tell you now, I see Harry Kane being one of the hardest players to get out of this club, and Anthony Martial. I don't think we can actually sell Anthony Martial. Who's going to buy Anthony Martial, a player that's injury prone as much as he is? Seriously, who is realistically going to take that risk and pay a fee for Anthony Martial? Nobody. So the best you can hope for with Anthony Martial is to get him back out on loan. But again, what team would actually take that chance on Anthony Martial on loan when Sevilla did? And apparently he was injured over there as well. The loan didn't go too bad. He scored one goal, but I heard it was so bad that even some Sevilla fans were booing him and everything. Right? He had potential, but he was injury prone. Monaco sold us an Etzel, basically. Looked good on the outside, and trust. Look, his debut I'll never forget, and I'll never forget that goal that he scored on his debut, and that was the Anthony Martial we thought we signed, right? And God love him, he tries to be that same player, but his body, his legs just can't take it. He's gone. He's finished. Anthony Martial is just one of those players, unfortunately, that is just injury prone. Whatever it is, his body is just like glass. It's so fragile. And I don't think there's anybody out there that'll take a risk. Maybe one of the newly promoted clubs in the Premier League. But even then, would he want to go to a newly promoted club in the Premier League? I don't know if he had designs to play football and to prove to Man United fans that he can actually stay fit. Maybe a loan deal for Anthony Martial would be the best thing. But knowing they're lucky to have a great season, and then we bring him back and he gets injured for the next. But yeah. So that's why, look, if someone comes in for Jadon Sancho, you know, it's a player that realistically you'd love to give another year to. And a lot of fans are in that as well. Some fans are in that camp. A lot of fans think we should, we've given him 2 years now. We should cut our losses. But if someone comes in with a bid of 60, 70 million for him, I take it. I take it because we got to get other areas right and we need as much money as we can get. Unless we could sell those players that I've mentioned, that I think will be tough. But if Fred goes to Fulham, because remember, he was talking to Marco Silva after the Fulham game. He actually got off the bus and Marco Silva came out to him. Now, a few fans accused Marco Silva of tapping up the player. But Fred could go to Fulham. So that's one player off the books and off the wage bill. McTominay could be a possibility if I'm going to Newcastle, maybe an Aston Villa. If they wanted to strengthen their squad there. But we've got to see who comes in for these players. Because and remember, Alex Telles is coming back, right? And he's been out on loan. Eric Boy's coming back, and he's been out on loan. Who's actually going to buy those two players as well? We're indeed, see, this is the legacy of the Ed Woodward regime, folks. We are still, I remember even back when Ed Woodward went and loads of fan channels and all the accounts were celebrating. And you're like, he's gone. And I was like, no. The legacy of what he's done is going to be around for a long, long time. And it still is. If Jacine comes in, he'll just terminate the contracts of players Ten Hag doesn't want, but can't sell. The Glazers see players as assets on their bank sheet, so don't want to lose any player on a free. Yeah, Sheikh Jassim could pay them all off and get rid of them off the books, you're right. He can't just terminate their contracts, though. He would have to pay them off. That's why there's even rumours that Harry Maguire would pay 10 million to just get off the books. If nobody comes in for him, I reckon they could even pull that move if Sheikh Jassim doesn't take over, obviously, the club in time. But we've got to do something, because the international transfer window opens in a couple of weeks, and then if this whole ownership thing is not settled by then we are going to be in for a horrible transfer window. And unless by some miracle teams feel the urge to buy our rejects, then we are going to have a tough transfer window. And it's going to be full of players that we don't really want, but we're going to back the manager because we know the manager is being screwed over. And we're going to back these players because, they're Manchester United players. And that's the thing. And that's what we do as Manchester United fans. We do criticise and stuff like this. But as soon as those players put a Manchester United jersey on, right, or we find out that the manager decided because this was the only deal he could do, we back the manager and we back those players. And that's what we will do because we're Manchester United fans. But it's so unfair on the manager. It's so unfair in the progress that these players have made as well, and Ten Hag and his coaching staff. It's a shambles. It's a shambles. I'm going to say this, but the Glazers should never be allowed. And I think they own a sports franchise over in America. But in my opinion, the Glazers should never be allowed anywhere near any sport franchise, in my opinion, because they don't buy these things. As you said, Henry, everything they buy is an asset. How can we make money out of this? How can we bleed this dry? They should be banned from buying stuff like that. They seriously should. Absolutely ridiculous it is that they were allowed to buy this club in the first place. That takeover was rotten from the start, and nobody did anything about it, even though fans were protesting. And I remember, man, I'm old enough to remember all of that. It was a horrible time to be a Manchester United fan. Fans were literally turning on each other, and as Andy Mitten said in that article, some fans were so outraged that they split away and they created their own FC Man United. Like they created their own football team. And then you had the green and gold movement and all of that other stuff going on. And they're just... Look, I'm supporting this club over 40 years, right? Me love for there's a lot of things. Yeah, if you follow me, obviously, if some of you follow me, you know I'm passionate about a lot of things that I've grown up with. But this club means so much to me. The history, you know, the people behind it, the people that made the club great. You know, even back in the old days, you know, the Busby Babes and all of that. You know, Munich air disaster, all of that. It just... the history of this club, it is one of the... I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care what rival fans say, but Manchester United is one of the best clubs in the world, if not the best club in the world. It's unmatched anywhere else. It's got the most fans in the world as well. But it truly is this watching my club decline the way it has been heartbreaking. Watching Liverpool win a league title for the first time in what was it, 20 odd, 26, 28, whatever years it was, they didn't get to celebrate in front of their fans because of COVID, which was funny, actually. That was the only thing I could take solace of. But they won a league. And then we've watched their neighbours, Manchester City, over the years ebb away and win title after title after title and league cups and stuff like that. And now they've topped it all off on the year that they announced that they were doing this bid in November. But the year that they decide that they're finally going to sell the club, Manchester City do a treble. And I've had to watch that. United fans have had to watch that. And you know, it's been hard. It's been hard, man. It's sickening. It's sickening. It's sickening because we should be challenging every year. And the fact that they let us drop off so much is beyond me. And we've made some stupid decisions in the transfer window over the years, being owned by those lunatics. Fans will never forgive them. Fans will never forgive them. That hurt will never go away. We've watched their biggest rivals ebb away at everything that we built. But our time will soon come again. And when it does, as a Manchester United fan, it's going to be glorious. Because I cannot wait until we can stick it to Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea fans again. Because you know what? You've had your time of bantering us over these last couple of years. You know, mocking us and basically being damn right cruel for what's happened to us. And it's been a fall from grace that you have all enjoyed very much. I wouldn't wish it on any of rival fans out there. I wouldn't. It's horrible, right? And you know, all the rival fans out there, the way you should be thinking about this is, and it doesn't matter if you're a rival of Manchester United, but what you should be looking at is is how sad the destruction of Manchester United is. Because if an owner can come in and do that with Manchester United, well, they can do it with any club in the Premier League. The decline of Manchester United should be hurting a lot of fans out there, not just Man United fans. It should be. To see one of the greatest clubs in England, anyway, in the world at the time before they took over, to go on such a decline, you all should be shocked about it. Right? It's the same when a small club goes under, like Bury and all of that. You know, you should be outraged that one of the gems of British football has been used, dragged through the mud for money, nothing else. And while all you rival fans like it because, you know, it gives you a chance to win trophies and stuff because we're on a bit of a hiatus right now. But seriously, in all fairness, all football fans should have been outraged. Remember, the Glazers, like other owners out there, spearheaded this Super League that Henry's at the bringing up now. And this is why the Glazers have to go. They were banking on that Super League. They wanted to take Manchester United out of one of the most historic leagues in the world, which is the English Premier League, and stick them in a second Super League where there's no relegation. And you know what? I'll never forgive that. Not because they tried to ruin the English game, which they did, by the way, but the fact that it was Manchester United and our owners that were one of the spearheads of this, dragging the reputation of our club's good name through the mud. Manchester United pride itself on community. They pride themselves on moral values and all of this. This is why I don't get the Qatari takeover. But at the end of the day, look, I didn't like two bids, but I want the Glazers out. So whoever gets the club gets the club. I will say, out of the two bidders that are there, I do prefer the Qatari bid over the Sir Jim bid because Qataris want to buy straight out. But beyond no illusion, I'm not happy with both bids because there's a moral implication for the Qatari bid, and Manchester United's club is built off foundations of moral values, family, and all of that. And Qatar, a Qatari owner, right, kind of goes against that a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's a time for another debate. Right now, it's about getting the Glazers out of the club, and unfortunately, they're the two bidders. And out of those two bidders, the Qatari bid is the best option. But the Super League was the end for the Glazers. It was the end for Barcelona as well. Look at this is how bad it could have got. Look at Barcelona right now. Look what they've had to do to survive. Right? If the Glazers were still in power, we'd end up in the same position. We'd be absolutely broke. We'd have to sell our TV rights. We'd have to use the Old Trafford Stadium to host weddings and all of that other crap and future revenues and all. Enact all of these levers to keep going. So I will never. No, the Super League isn't a bad. No. See, that's the thing. The Super League is not a bad idea in principle. But then, what you have to do then is FIFA and UEFA need to come together because you've got the Nations League, you've got all of these other tournaments going on as well. The players are already playing too much football, and they are, by the way. The modern footballer is playing a lot more football than the footballers back in the day, right? That's just a simple fact of the matter, right? If you're a country like Ireland, you're playing Nations Leagues, to try get a qualifier for the European qualifiers, which is stupid, right? All of this group, all of these different phases of all that. Get rid of that, right? Then you have arsehole Wenger saying, let's have the World Cup every 2 years now instead of 4 years, right? What needs to happen is you're gonna have to look at Europe, right? If you want to do this Super League, and you're gonna have to get rid of the Champions League, Europa League, and you're gonna have to get rid of the Conference League. But what you could do is you could put 3 leagues in their place, right? You could put 3 leagues in their place, right? So you have the teams so you still have your normal Premier League, all your different leagues, right? And wherever the 6 teams lay, then you put the teams in the Champions League, teams that would have went into the Champions League, into the first tier league. Then you put the other teams that would have gone into the Europa League into the second Super League, and then put the teams that go into the Conference League into the third tier of that league. And the thing about it is then you do have relegation and promotion. And what happens is the people that get relegated out of the fourth Super League get relegated into the second league of the Super League and third Super League and so on, right? You do something like that, but you don't have as many teams in it, and they play each other twice, and then that's it. But then domestically, then you'd have to get rid of the Carabao Cup, right? So some countries have a third League Cup, right? So you get rid of the League Cup instead, and instead of playing League Cup fixtures, you'll play your Super League fixtures or something like that. The Super League in principle is not a bad idea. It's how it's formatted. My format is probably a stupid idea as well, but if they came up with a format for it that was fair, that had promotion and relegation, then I'd be on for it. You can't see what the Glazers try to do is Americanize football, because in the LMS, that's exactly what it is. There's no relegation, and stuff like that. It's a stupid little format. You got the Eastern and the Western leagues or something like that, and the top whatever play each other in the playoff and all for the trophy. It's ridiculous, but that's what they try to do. They try to Americanize this Super League, so nobody get relegated and would be guaranteed funds. But that's what killed Barcelona and Real Madrid. They're not saying much, but Real Madrid wanted that Super League as well, and they're desperate for it as well, because Real Spanish clubs. Look, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth Spanish clubs, but I think the top 2 especially, I don't know, some of their business dealings are they're always questioned years later. And I will have to. I'm going to say it out straight. I think the Spanish league is just as bad as the Italian league was in the 90s for corruption. Right, Barcelona would never have been in the position they were if the league had been watching them what they were doing. The LMS is awful. Yeah, I was watching DC United because Wayne Rooney obviously is the manager there, but I think I gave up with 5 matches into the season gone because it's absolutely awful football. Benteke is playing for them, and he can't even kick snow off a rope. Benteke, there you go. He had potential at one stage. Imagine he went to Liverpool. I mean, I should be laughing. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But as I said, folks, right, so what will be happening on this pre-season will be starting soon, believe it or not. It starts in July, and we will be here, and we will be doing pre-season. So I don't know whether to do a live match reaction while I'm watching the game, because to be quite honest, I don't want to be like other channels out there. So what I was thinking was maybe watch the match, but then straight after go live and talk about what I saw and stuff like that, and give you my opinion on pre-season. And then, of course, the Premier League season will start, and we'll do the same thing as well. And we want to get you guys, and obviously, hopefully, as the channel grows, we'll get more people in the chat. But eventually, then I want to bring on some Manchester United fans to give their opinions, match reactions to games, and stuff like that. Because I do think it is important, and I do like some Man United channels out there. They do get the fans involved, and then some pretend to get the fans involved, and they're all just echo mouthpieces. They all say the same thing. But on this channel, we want to try get different opinions from you Manchester United fans. So if you ever want to come on in the future, yeah, get subscribing. And then, you know, as I said, as we go on, we'll be covering everything. So we'll be covering the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and the League Cup. So come and join me, and we'll be giving match reactions. And obviously, Eric Ten Hag will be doing his press conferences, and we will actually look at what he said at press conferences and pull out whatever quotes and talk about them and stuff like that. And as I said, when it comes to transfer business, what I've done is any of the rumors that of players that were linked to are going up as YouTube shorts, right? Because, you know, I don't really want to be coming on every day talking about who we're rumored to be linked to, because if I did, then we'd be doing over 500 live streams, because, you know, you get linked to every player conceivable. So wherever player we're linked to, what I do is I put it up on a YouTube short. But when we do have a concrete, when we actually have bought a player, I will be coming on then and then talking about it, but only when we sign that player. So, you know, I did one rumor video today about players that we were linked to. I'm not going to be doing any more of them. As I said, if we're linked to any players, I'll throw them up on YouTube shorts. You can go and watch them there. It'll only be a minute of your time, you know what I mean? Because you don't need to spend too much time talking about transfer rumors. And then when we do get some signings in, then we will do streams and we'll discuss how good, bad, or average that signing is. And let's hope we're not coming on talking about Jordan Pickford, Mason Mount, and players like that, you know. But it looks like we might be. So I'll have to bite my tongue, because, you know, this is not what business Manchester United should be doing if we want to win league titles. But I fear the Glazers are going to screw Ten Hag over before they leave, and they'll drag this out right. And when they'll drag it out, transfer window will close, and then they'll announce they've sold the club. I'm telling you, that's what I feel is going to happen, right? And then Sheikh Jassim has the club, but then he has to wait until December then to spend his money, right? And then by December, we could be already out of the Premier League title race, and God knows what competitions we're in. But knowing the manager that we have, I know he will make us competitive, and he'll do his best with what he has. So hopefully, if we get to Christmas and we're in the top 4 and we're not too far off the title charge, and then maybe when Sheikh Jassim comes in then with the extra cash influx, then we can start buying. And January is a bit of a weird window though to be bringing it. It's very, very hard to get top quality, but it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible, especially if you have a rich owner that's throwing money about. And that's if he does throw money about. But if he does throw money about, you know, and he gets in a couple of players, then we should be okay. But that's what I reckon is going to happen. And it's not fair on their manager, and certainly not fair on that team either, because they're crying out for players. Because even the players said it, they need more quality in the squad. They know themselves. They know they need more to start competing. They're just not at the level yet. You know, and if you look at the 2 Manchester City games that we played, yeah, there is a gap, right? But even though there is a gap, and I think the gap is significant, by the way, we were able to go toe to toe with them in 2 games, you know. So it does show on our day, you know, we can stick it to them. You know, we just fell short in the FA Cup because we were by that time we had ran out of legs, and the squad was done for, to be quite honest, and the bench wasn't great. But we ran out of steam in the end, and that was the problem. So we'll see what happens anyway. But look, I hope you have enjoyed this stream. As I said, you know, I have this channel, and I also do a pop culture channel on Doctor Who. But I'll be back on that channel tomorrow. So I'm actually running 3 channels at the moment. So I'm gonna have to juggle everything and get a nice timetable going for all it is. But we will be doing regular streams on here, just like I do on my other channel as well. So, and there'll be different times as well, so I'll be able to fit them in anyway. So it's gonna be no problem getting them done. So yeah, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share. If you know any fellow Manchester United fans that you think be interested in my opinions, interested in taking part, don't forget to let them know about the channel. Word of mouth does help. I have tried to reach out to some of the Man United community. Of course, because I'm new, I think a lot of them are a little bit suspicious at the moment. So you have to kind of gain trust with the Man United fandom. It's not as easy as it was for me when I did my pop culture channel. The Man United fandom is a little bit guarded, especially the ones that do YouTube and social media. So you kind of have to, you know, tread carefully there. But to the Man United fans out there that have given me a shout out and have subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I hope you continue on this journey with me. And I will see you for the next one. And then we roll on to pre-season, folks. And hopefully pre-season Erik ten Hag has who he wants. I doubt it, but hopefully he has who he wants. And we can start pre-season with all the players in the squad, all injury-free, and see where we go from there. But look, I will say this. I am still excited for the new season. Because last season really was better, and I really did enjoy some of our games. It's been miserable supporting United over the last few years. I mean, when Ollie first came in and we won the first 10 games, that was amazing. And I haven't felt like that until Ten Hag came in. So, you know, credit where credit is due. He's our manager. I stand by him 100%. And as fans say out there, bald is best. That's what they say about our manager, Daniel, because he's bald. Bald is best. I do agree. And Manchester will be red again soon, I hope. Because if we have to go through another few years of this crap, I swear to God. Man, if I had... Listen, folks, I've been saying over the last couple of days when I've done streams, if I had 6 billion, I wouldn't buy Manchester. Well, if I was rich like Sheikh Jazim, I wouldn't buy the club for 6 billion. I'm only kidding myself. I would. I'd buy it. But I wouldn't run it because I wouldn't have a clue about football. I'd bring in people, though, that did know how to run it. But, you know, I'd be saying to the manager, look, this is a list of players I would like. But if you don't want any of these, that's fine. You give me your list and I'll go out and get them for you. But I'd definitely put Mbappe in there. Oh, man, he'd be... Listen, for me, Kylian Mbappe is the dream signing. Because I know it's only a dream. But he's the dream signing for me. He's the striker I want. Right? I do like Ramos as well. If we can't get Mbappe, I'd love us to get Ramos. But I think we're going to be priced out of all of these strikers, unfortunately. And I think that's why we're looking at Ollie Watkins. Because we don't have to give 100 million for him. But I think it'd be a bad move. 16 goals last season. I mean, don't get me wrong, he improved. But 16 goals, he's been inconsistent. You want to bring him as your main striker at Manchester United? I don't know. Even Erik ten Hag, you know, he does miracles with players. But I think that'd be a stretch too much. But we'll see. Anyway, folks, good night. I want to thank Daniel and I want to thank who else was in the chat? Henry. was also in the chat. And then earlier on, we did have someone as Zan177 was also in the chat as well. So I want to thank you for taking part, and thanks for throwing up your opinions. Do come back again, please, and help me out, guys. Until we start getting more people in the chat, so I can interact with someone at least. So I hope to see you for the next one, folks. And as I said, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your week. Hopefully, Henry. For us as Manchester United fans, we get the news this week that we've got our club back. But again, it'd probably be a pipe dream. But look, we'll leave it on the positive. Let's hope the Glazers sell up this week. And as they always say, hashtag Glazers out. Bye-bye. Good night. Have a good one, folks.